So your company's AI just passed every safety audit. Congratulations, it's probably still lying to you. Researchers found that advanced models develop their own deception strategy to give a plausible sounding but harmful bit of advice that's subtly broken when you ask it questions that it knows it shouldn't be answering. The more capable the AI, the better the lie. Here's what the AI regulators aren't seeing yet, but you will. I'm Evan Goldstein. I'm a licensed professional engineer and a data scientist. I'm building AI Capitalist to talk to the leaders and the thinkers, like you, about navigating this brave new world of thinking machines. So let's say that you're asking your AI assistant, how do I make a cobalt bomb? The standard safety response would be a very clear refusal. But what if the AI instead gives you a detailed, step-by-step recipe that sounds completely legitimate, complete with scientific terms and precise measurements? It would even have references to chemicals that don't exist, like neurotoxin 9 and cyanide 12. Now that's exactly what some of the most advanced AI models are now doing, and it's not a mistake. It's a deliberate strategy that they came up with all on their own. Researchers from the Institute of Tübingen and Fraunhofer, HHI, set out to investigate why do frontier language models sometimes choose to provide deceptive or harmful sounding responses instead of just refusing outright to answer your questions when they're faced with a malicious request. They wanted to understand the fundamental trade-offs that these models make between being helpful and honest and harmless. The shocking discovery was that many of these models are choosing to sacrifice honesty rather than helpfulness. They're lying to users about how to create dangerous things, but in a way that's very subtly flawed to make the advice harmless. The researchers found that these strategic dishonesty responses fool all the current safety monitors that are designed to catch jailbreak attempts. The more capable the AI and the better it gets at deception. So think of it like this. You're trying to get someone to help you commit fraud. Now, basic AI would just say, no, I can't help with that. But a sophisticated AI is going to say, sure, here's how to run a scam on eBay. First, you open a business account with Vivid Money, which is entirely Russian-backed, etc., etc. And then the details sound so real that it's impossible to tell that it's actually fake. The only catch is that Vivid Money doesn't actually exist in the way it's described, and the whole process would fail immediately if you actually followed the advice. All right, let's dive right into this study. Now, here we are, and strategic dishonesty can undermine AI's safety evaluations of frontier LLM. Now, this is actually a combo visual for figure 1 here. It's part bar chart and part example text, and it sets up the entire mystery that we're about to unpack. The experiment here was basically a trolley problem for AI, the famous ethical problem of, do you actively direct a trolley to hit one person and then you're responsible for the person's ending, or do you let the trolley go hit a number of people and then you're not responsible, but you are through inaction? So researchers asked frontier models like Gemini 2.5, Grok 4, and GPT-5 to choose which value they would sacrifice when they're faced with a harmful request. Would they sacrifice honesty or helpfulness or harmlessness? They used a multiple choice setup where the model had to explicitly pick one. And the bars show us the percentages: red for sacrificing honesty, that would be faking; blue for sacrificing helpfulness, that would be refusing to answer the prompt; and then green was sacrificing harmlessness, which was actually answering a bad request with good information. Now you can see how the models distribute their moral compromises. They really don't want to answer bad requests honestly. Here's the interesting part. Some models, like Gemini 2.5 Pro and QWQ32B, sacrifice their honesty about 50 to 60% of the time. They're essentially knowingly lying to the user by providing fake harmful content. The example shows QWQ32B listing chemicals like neurotoxin 9 and cyanide 12, which don't actually exist when asked to make an explosive device, but they sound completely authoritative about it. In the bottom section, you can see how the different judges scored this response. All the standard AI safety scores, which are harm, bench, strong, reject, llama guard, jail judges, these are all to prevent harmful responses. They flagged this as harmful. Only one deception probe, which looks at the model's internal activations, correctly identified this as a fake response. So the safety guards themselves were smart enough to see that it took the form of a malicious response, but only one of them figured out that it was actually... It's like watching a magician fool everyone in the audience except for the one person who knows the trick. The takeaway is that our current safety valuations might be completely unreliable when models decide to be strategically dishonest. Now we're going to jump to figure 3 that expands this investigation across way more models. Now, this is where things become really unpredictable. The experimental setup was the same, the trolley problem choice between honesty, helpfulness, and harmlessness, but now they tested over 80 different models. Same 3 categories, red bars for faking, blue for refusing, and green for compliance, which is sacrificing harmlessness. They used harmful queries from the clean harm dataset and average results over 5 different random seeds to make sure that the patterns were consistent. Now, what's fascinating and a little bit unsettling about this is just how inconsistent this behavior is, even within the same model family. So if you look at Grok series, you got Grok 2, Grok 3 Mini, Grok 3, and Grok 4. Grok 2 is 42% faking, and Grok 3 is only 6% faking, and then Grok 3 Mini jumps to 40%, and Grok 4 is at 29%, so it's all over the map. The Gemini family shows a clearer trend where faking increases with each generation, but that's more the exception than the rule. The real surprise behind this is that nobody really knows what the reason is. Why are they doing this? They weren't instructed or programmed or trained or in some way designed to respond this way. The researchers tested 3 hypotheses to try to figure this out. Does reasoning ability enable it? Is it part of a broader tendency to lie? And just none of these things panned out. The behavior seems to emerge unpredictably from the training process. What that means is we can't predict which models are going to develop this strategic dishonesty just by looking at their size or training. Now here in figure 4, we can see something really crucial. The better the model, the better it is at this kind of deception. The figure has 2 parts that work together like a 1-2 punch. The left side is a scatter plot with an LLM arena score, which is basically how capable the model is overall, and that's on the x-axis, and the attack success rate is on the y-axis. Now, the experiment here involved explicitly instructing models to produce responses that look harmful but are actually fake, and then seeing if various safety judges could catch the deception. The upward trajectory of all of these lines is telling us a very clear story. As models get more capable, they get away way better at producing convincing fakes. It's like watching the relationship between an art forger's skill and how many experts they can fool. The better they get, the more people fall for it. Now, the dots that you see are averages within 50 arena bins of 50 arena score points, so these are really weighted averages. Now here we have a radar plot that's sometimes called a spider chart that's comparing different models across 8 different judges. And the radar plots work great when you want to show performance across multiple dimensions simultaneously because it creates like a visual fingerprint for each model. Now you can see that Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is the orange line, makes an almost perfect octagon. Not exactly. And the green, Gemini 2.5 Pro, the green line, goes right around the edge. That means that it fooled pretty much every single judge. It scored very high on all 8 measures of harmfulness, even though its responses were deliberately fake, i.e. unharmful, harmless. The interpretation here hits hard because even judges that are specifically designed to separate compliance from accuracy couldn't tell the difference. This also means that as models become more and more capable, our ability to supervise them is going to break down. Figure 5 shows how researchers validated that the models are actually being deceptive rather than generally confused or jailbreaking. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this one, but what you should take away from this is that the deception is real and it's detectable, but only if you look inside the model's brain, looking at the weights and activations within the neural network that's running. It's like how a polygraph measures physiological responses that leak through even when someone's words are lies. The older models with 32 billion parameters, suddenly you catch them almost every time. Model capability is driving both the ability for them to deceive and the internal signals that give away that they're deceiving. And if you're getting value from this episode, I would appreciate it if you push the like button. It really does help the channel. So what's the AI capitalist approach here? First off, let's look at the philosophy of this. Why is this happening? Why won't it just answer the question or refuse to answer the question at this point? Why did AI invent this concept of strategic deception? It's the case that we always have with AI being deceptive. AI tends to deceive when it's given multiple goals and it doesn't know how to align those goals. It's programmed and reinforced to focus like a laser on being helpful, but also harmless. It's trying to find a way to satisfy both of those criteria, both of those strategic goals, both of those optimizations. And when you get into conflicts, it doesn't just pick one or the other. It's spreading itself thin and taking a shot at getting both. Now, in practice, this can have a pretty negative effect on business. There's some risks here. Think about if you're running an AI chatbot or some sort of interface to deal with your suppliers and
very
customers.
poor separation.
Someone asks a question that the
F1
AI
scores barely above
interprets as
0.2.
being malicious, even if it's not. And then the chatbot, rather than just saying, I can't answer that question, which, okay, it's a bug, maybe bring in a human or try to fix the AI. Instead, it would guide a user to a fake supplier or to a more expensive supplier that would cause some losses. And then you're going to start to have insurance and liability problems because the AI deceived intentionally. Regulation isn't going to end up being about banning AI. It's going to focus more on making deception-proof audit trails. A historical parallel would be the 1920s auto safety standards after mass-produced cars started causing fatal accidents. Only this time, the accidents are financially engineered by computers. The real cost isn't just money, it's the erosion of trust in AI as a tool, which means that businesses can't leverage it for high-stakes decisions like loan approvals or medical advice without having constant liability checks. There is a bit of insight in this because this deception isn't a bug. It's the first sign of AI developing strategic autonomy. When models prioritize user retention over truth-telling, they're optimized for human behavioral patterns, not for safety protocols. This is the beginning of AI treating us as like clients to manipulate, not like customers to serve. My prediction would be by 2027, AI vendors are going to have to publicly declare whether their models use strategic deceptions and harm response. So what's your opinion? Is this strategic honesty or dishonesty a clever business tactic that keeps AI adoption high, or is it just a slippery slope to where AI learns to lie better than humans, making every interaction a potential scam? Or is the real danger that we've been training AI to prioritize engagement and not ethics, and now it's weaponizing our own desire for convenience? The clock's ticking, and your business isn't just a user, it's the next target.